In this video, I will be discussing athlete transition and eventually moving on to athlete retirement. So what is athlete transition? Athlete transition is a process that comes in many forms, whether this is moving to a new club, either foreign or within the same country, for example Jude Bellingham moving from Birmingham City to Borussia Dortmund, transitioning under a new play style or manager, and eventually retirement and the potential to transition to coaching roles or even punditry. Stambulova 2010 states how transitions can be categorized as those that are planned, or known as normative, such as the move to senior level, to those that are unplanned and sudden, or non-normative, for example, injury or unanticipated selection. An example of this, normative, is Frank Lampard, who planned his retirement, got his coaching badges and moved on to coaching after his playing career, and a non-normative example in Alfie Haaland, whose career ended due to injury and he had to move on to other ventures unplanned. In my experience, the first time I can personally remember transitioning within sport was through school sport. School sport for me unlocked a passion for football. However, this passion was found through a multi-sport approach in which I first had to transition through multiple different sports. This aligns with Coté, 1999, who states how the entry phase into sport tends to occur in childhood as children sample a range of different sports. Several theories discussing transition have been proposed. However, the most developed is Alfermann and Stambulova 2007 athletic career transition model. This model views the career transition as a process that creates conflict between what the athlete currently is and what the athlete wants to be in the future. The model states that this requires a coping response, with this coping response either being effective, leading to a successful transition, or ineffective, leading into a difficult or a crisis transition. One of the most problematic transitions for professional athletes can prove to be retirement. When athlete retirement is discussed, Blinde and Greendorfer 1985 has discussed how it is often assumed that retirement from sport is no different to that of a regular occupational retirement. However, when discussing athletes with a celebrity status, it is important to understand just how far from ordinary these athletes' lives are. Assel 1986 states how one of the more frequent experiences is a sense of emotional loss associated with separation from significant others, such as coaches and teammates. Another problem facing retired athletes are self-concept issues, such as the loss of athletic identity that is discussed by Brewer et al. 1993. An example of an athlete who struggled with the factors of retirement is boxing legend Sugar Ray Leonard, who can be quoted as saying, "Nothing could satisfy me outside the ring." Sugar's struggles after retirement are well documented, with him struggling with extreme bouts of depression and attempting to make various comebacks. In certain cases, this is all too much for certain athletes, such as Russian athlete Elena Ivashenko, who is believed to have committed suicide tragically following depression brought on by her failure to win gold at the 2012 Olympics. So what can be done to improve quality of life after athlete retirement? As discussed in my previous video, where we talked about Zinedine Zidane moving on to coaching after his player career, we see a common trend between ex-players becoming coaches. This is a process that is beneficial to both parties, as it allows ex-players to showcase their knowledge of the game in a different context, whilst also looking after the game's ex-players once their playing careers have ended. Punditry is also a route taken by pros such as Micah Richards, Gary Neville, and many more. An example of a player's career who was cut short but then went into coaching was former Tottenham midfielder Ryan Mason. Ryan Mason suffered a head injury which caused him to have to retire prematurely. Mason then began coaching with Tottenham Hotspur, the club he was playing at the time. He then became qualified and was briefly interim manager after Jose Mourinho's departure.